Welcome everybody to episode 3 of the GolfJitsu Podcast. I am Douglas Russo. To my right, well, actually in front of me, is Joe Fazio and Nick Biglasco. And I figured today we would speak about merchandise, golf merchandise, right? Courses that you've played and courses that you haven't played. Do you want merchandise from courses that you haven't played? Personally, me, I don't. Everybody asked me. I had a cousin ask me last year. He went to the Masters. He asked me, he said, Doug, I'm going to the Masters. Do you want anything? And I kind of felt bad saying, I was like, not really. He's like, you don't want a hat or anything? You don't want, I'm like, I mean, I told him, he got me a hat, So I was like, all right, get me a hat. I'll give you money for a hat. But I don't want stuff from places that I don't play. What about you guys? Joe, what about you?
I think, all right, the Masters is an exception. I think the majors are an exception, right? Because number one, you're never going to play Augusta, ever, okay? It's not going to happen. So you could wear Augusta stuff all over the place. You work for a major golf brand?
Okay, can I just, real quick, I agree the Masters is the exception, but you have to have at least gone and bought something from the event. That's my caveat to that. So I'm with you, but you have to have attended.
I don't know.
I agree.
I personally, I don't own anything Masters related, but I'm not opposed to getting something. So if one of you guys went and you guys wanted to pick me up a flag from Augusta, I would totally take it and hang it up on the wall. But in terms of what I have on my wall, on my whole display, they're only courses that I've played. And I switched over. So when I first started fitting for Callaway, right?
So I feel like hats, shirts, I don't know, anything, even like a ball marker. If I haven't played there, I don't want it. A friend of mine, when I went to Streamstone a couple weeks ago, he before I went, he's like, hey, do me a favor, pick me up a quarter zip. And I was like, all right, no problem. So I'm looking through the quarter zips, and I mean, you guys know how golf clothing is right now, like super expensive. The cheapest quarter zip was like $250, and I didn't get it. And then I told him when I came back, I said, listen, Chris, and Chris listened, so he's going to be hearing this. I said, Chris, I think I did you a favor. I said, I didn't get you anything from Streamstone. First of all, they weren't really that nice. Second of all, it was like $250. And but I don't know. Personally, I don't want any. I know I keep saying it, but I don't want anything. I don't want anything from any courses. And I don't know if people feel bad when I say that. Like, oh, I'm going here. Do you want something from? No. I'm good.
All of the on-person soft goods I own, hats, polos, they're usually either I won an outing, got a gift card, I played the course, I'm like, all right, I don't know when I'm coming back here. Let me grab something. That type of stuff. I was talking to a buddy of mine. We actually had Top Golf playoffs on Monday, and he was down in AC over the weekend, and he was telling me the story how he bumped into a buddy of his, and he wanted to trade him for his quarter zip from this course down in South Jersey. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, I never really heard of it. I just like the color. Do you want to trade? And so he traded him a quarter zip just because he liked the color for a vest from Echo Lake Country Club where my buddy works at. So he actually traded something he's going to wear probably once a week for something for a guy that didn't even know where the course was. So, Doug, I'm with you 100%. Joe, I get your point, but yeah.
So my question was it just the color of the shirt that he liked, or did he like the logo? Because there's a lot of logos that I like that I would love to wear, like right here. So, granted, Hollywood, Hollywood. The course, one of my favorite courses in New Jersey. If I played it a bunch of times, I'd wear it. I'd wear Hollywood all over my body. I'm obsessed with the course. Everybody would know that they talk to me. I talk about Hollywood all the time, right? Well, was it the logo? Was it just the color? Or was it the kind of shirt?
It was both. So it was a navy quarter zip. It had some stripes on it. The logo was kind of cool looking. He liked the way it looked. He's like, "Oh, would you trade me?" And it was like, you're talking about like a 10-year-old quarter zip for a vest that the tags just came off of too. So there were a lot of things wrong with this. But to your point, is one of those things where, the guy couldn't say what town the course was in, but he wanted the quarter zip. So, all right, everybody. I want to introduce to you Matthew Fuchs. He is co-founder and head engineer for Makefield Putters and one of my coworkers. Matt is the brains behind a lot of our technology, and he's going to be able to shed some more light on why Makefield performs the way it does at a much higher level than I ever could. So, Matt, welcome.
Thank you.
Doug and Joe are on with us, our other co-hosts. So, quick introduction. How did you get involved with Makefield? What led you to some of the ideas for the design? And if you want to touch on a little bit of Everett's story as well, Everett is our owner and our other co-founder who really spearheaded the whole motivation behind Makefield Putters.
Sure. Thank you, Nick. It's good to be on this podcast. I'm excited for it and excited for its trajectory and future. A little bit about me. I've worked in a variety of things, traditionally mechanical engineer, had a graduate degree in product development entrepreneurship through this technical entrepreneurship program out of Lehigh. I currently teach part-time as an adjunct there in their product development program, the technical entrepreneurship. And that kind of led me to meeting with Everett. I'd worked with him years ago on a separate project for a company I was with, and we had gotten to know each other a little bit. And through a number of different situations, circumstances, we partnered up a couple of years ago, formed a company called Drex, mixed of Lehigh and Drexel, both of our alma maters. And we ended up trying to invent and work on and commercialize different products of our own through technological innovations. And at one day, Everett came up to me and said, "Hey, I know you're working on this medical device thing, and we're working on this and working on this, all very engineering." He said, "I want to make a golf putter." And I said, "A what?" Because I have no clue about golf, never golfed in my life, probably never will. However, as an outsider, an outside perspective, he brought up probably the biggest thing to me, which was, I think there's a better opportunity to make better putters out there. I've watched and seen a lot of them. I've been golfing for 30 years plus. I know a lot of golfers. I've been golfing a lot. And I see an opportunity in the market. I see there's a gap in the technological development of putters. Drivers and irons and so forth have had kind of the science beaten to death out of them, which is terrific. But putters, not as much. And then I said something that I don't regret, but I said, I don't know. And he said, "Wait, does that mean you can't do it?" And I said, ho, challenge accepted. And that kind of started off from where we started. We ended up working with Mike Little out of Lookaway Country Club. And he had a ton of experience, and he was on our founding team as well. And we looked at the putter from a form, follow, function point of view. And this technological developments that came out of it started this genesis from Everett Farr. Everett, during the COVID pandemic, and this is, again, better from him in his story, but the summary of his story is, during the pandemic, he had to work from home a lot. And like me, he builds a lot, he works a lot, he makes a lot. He's very hands-on. So being at home during COVID, he has an adult son with autism. He had to do a lot of homework with him and a lot of developing his stuff at home in his mind. And that meant watching a ton of YouTube. And of course, he likes golf and engineering. So he's watching a lot of engineering stuff and a lot of golf stuff. And he sees a lot of, we don't want to, put down other companies, but there's a lot of marketing out there. There's a lot of sales that goes on. And there's not always a lot of science or technology that goes into a product. And this goes across the entire world of products, but he saw it a lot in the golf putter market. There are some great things out there and some great technologies out there that I've come to see and respect, but he saw a big gap. And from that, he saw that opportunity, and that became, "Hey, Matt, let's build a golf putter." And the ethos was really simple. Let's build a better golf putter than anyone else. Let's build one that makes the game of golf better, and let's integrate some really cool technology. And one of the biggest technologies that we integrated in was our weight system, an ability to add versatility, customizability. And I don't mean customizability such as I want my shaft to have my logo on it, or I want to have a bit of flair like an office space. We're talking customizability to adjust the technology, adjust the physics to match you and your golfing ability. Primarily as the golfer, and I think next comes the environment and the tools, technologies. the better the tools, technology, and environment, the better the golfer can perform at whatever level. And I hope that kind of gives you a little better background on it. I didn't dive much into technology, but I'm looking for more pointed questions if you want, and I can answer to whatever level you'd like as well. I tend to drone on forever, so cut me off as needed.
So I have a question. How
Yes.
did you come up with the first shape?
I started out with a napkin drawing and about like this. It was given to me as a triangle and said, make that into a revolutionary putter. And that's literally, it was a piece of paper, a scrap with a triangle on it and a little rectangle. And it's not bad. That was, for me, as a problem solver, that was great. But that was how the initial shape started. And we developed into, the biggest questions as form, follow, function is not so much the shape, unless the shape is really critical. Like in a Navy sub, shape is really critical. It has to cut through water. But in a putter, the shape isn't as critical as the fundamental physics, which were the solid material out of aluminum 6061, which is standard aircraft grade alloy, having solid material versus the multi-materials that a lot of companies do, and that's usually for cost of manufacturing. Lower the cost, multiple cheaper materials, less expensive materials, put that all together, and that leaves you with a lower cost product. Unfortunately, it sacrifices some of the physics. So we really tackled with that simple shape, we tackled the physics first and tried to integrate the shape on top of it. And by doing that, we ended up having that morphed shape that's kind of reminiscent of fangs, other types of mallets, and also reminiscent of airplanes, which is my background and love. So I integrate a little bit of, everyone calls the weight ports different things. I call them afterburners because I was a big fan of the Blackbird, so I kind of modeled them after that. But there's a number of mixes of influences between biomimicry with, nature-related themes into, the pure physics and into some golf shapes. We try to integrate a bunch of those into the first VS.
So what makes your putter different than anything off the rack? Like, what's the customizability about it? How does that work? I'm guessing you fit somebody for it, but like, what is with the weights and everything? How does that work?
So to answer the customizability, what makes us different? That question evolves and changes all the time. And as other companies come into play or compete with us, or bigger companies adopt our technologies that question is going to be less and less unique. But what we started out with was the X3 weight system. And this gave us 3 different metal alloys: aluminum, stainless steel, and tungsten. Tungsten being the heaviest, stainless being the next lighter, and aluminum being the lightest. We wanted to be able to give the player within their putter, you have 3 weight channels, 1, 2, 3. Within there, and your face is here, you could put any combination up in the first VS model. You could put 9 weights in there. And in those 9 spots, you could put either an aluminum, a tungsten, or a stainless, and in any configuration you wanted. What that does is it moves your center of gravity, and for the audio listeners only, I'm moving my hands up and down, left and right in 3D space. This gives us the ability to move the center of gravity up, down, left, or right along the center plane of the putter. And there's a little bit of up and down on the height as well, but less critical. Hopefully you're hitting along the center of your putter to begin with. If you're not, you have other issues going on. But that allows the person to add more toe hang, less toe hang, move center of gravity back a bit, forward a bit, and allows you to really adjust a number of aspects when playing. So when you're doing a fitting, if you see a little bit open, a little bit closed, a little too slow to start, a little too high, you can make the putter lighter, heavier, move it center of gravity forward, back. You can do a variety. And again, it becomes, the way I describe it is probably a little too engineering for most people's taste and probably my own. And this is where Nick probably could give a better explanation. But the goal is to be able to adjust out a lot of the parameters you may see in a fitting that are undesirable. Or even if you have a bum shoulder and you drop down a little bit when you swing and you have a couple tendencies, we hopefully with the weighting system can adjust for that just a little bit to help match the person. And as a training aid, if we weight it in a way that helps counteract that a bit, that may bring some muscle memory back over time with a better stroke, which again, these are small, slight things, but one of the goals of the technology was to make the game of golf better, and that means in turn making the golfer better.
So quick layman's translation of that is what Everett and Matt found was that elevating the center of gravity from the sole of the putter into the equator of the club head drastically changes the physics and the performance of the putter, right? So you think about an adjustable weight putter, whether it's a blade or a mallet, most of those weights screw in through the sole of the club. What Everett and Matt did was put them in through the back of the club in the middle of the club head, therefore elevating the center of gravity, elevating the sweet spot. And from there, they were able to adjust a number of other factors to really fine-tune performance.
And then you have the option of putting the center of gravity or more weight either forward or backwards, basically how you would with a driver, correct?
Yep. One of the initial sort of taglines of Makefield was driver weighting technology in a putter, right? So that's really where a lot of the genesis of a lot of this came from. And then Matt and Everett were able, with Mike's help, because of Mike's golf experience, really fine tune a lot of the specifics of it.
And Joe, what's funny about that, and Nick, thank you for the explanation, because I will drag that out for 10 minutes long. We saw this driver weighting technology all over the market. We even saw some people adopt it into irons and other areas in certain ways. And then we saw in every single putter sole weighting or pouring tungsten powder into special cavities and gluing them in. But a bunch of stuff that moves the center of gravity towards the sole, towards the floor or higher, but none of it addressed the issue of keeping everything, physics-wise, we want to keep everything balanced, everything on that central equatorial plane. And when we saw that, that was one of those big kind of eye-opening opportunities is why did the drivers do this? And a lot of them do sole weighting. And again, there's a big reason in design engineering, if it's easier, there may be a reason to do it. And if the benefit isn't dramatic, sometimes you go for what's easier. And so sole weighting has a purpose, but in a lot of putters, it doesn't have a purpose. And if you make the weight really high up and then you add a lot of sole weighting, it all bounces to the equator until you change that weight. And we just couldn't rectify that in our heads of why that was being done. So we decided to not do it and go with weighting along the equatorial plane or the center of the face.
So now how many different heads, we should say, right? How many different putter heads do you guys have now?
So we have officially launched, we have the VS, our flagship original putter. We have the TF Tour and then the TF. The TF Tour and the TF are essentially half-moon-shaped putters, similar to other ones in the past. We are working on a couple new ones at the moment. And right now, I believe the Tour is USGA compliant. I think the TF is it's had multiple rounds of compliance testing for different versions. We have a variety of versions, a variety of different hostile positions between left, right, center left, center right. In all those configurations, as we discovered, the USGA wants to test every single one. But those are our three main heads out there at the moment, and we are actively working on new ones in a variety of areas. We're always taking in input from the outside world, though, not just our own heads. We love to hear customer feedback, user feedback, as well as others, just even haters. They can sometimes give us some very valuable feedback on where we decide to develop next.
Now, like you said before about customization, can you customize the colors or the type of shaft, or obviously you can customize the weighting and everything, and you guys, I'm guessing, like you said, you do that at a fitting. Now, are you at that point yet with, say, different color head or like the line, you can put it here, or you can put a dot, anything like that?
So as I like to tell our team, we can do anything. Do we want to? It's not always the case. As a business, we've been developing out the customization for the players. And again, 90% of the customization is driven by our customers and players out there with what they want to see and what will help them. Sometimes the customization is a color of something that they go, that didn't really help us, or that made it harder to see. And sometimes you see it on the screen or in your mind, it's different on the greens. But we have at this point been able to customize a number of things, from the shaft, the grip, the weighting system, whatever weights you'd like in there. We can engrave, it's actually laser ablation. And we made a YouTube video on how it works. But essentially, it's like engraving. We have an anodized surface, and we just color it with a laser to put our logo. We could put your logo, your name, serial number, other information on there. We can adjust the type of lines, how many lines, no lines, a dot, squigglies if we wanted. No one's asked for a squiggly yet. I hope no one doesn't ask for a squiggly. It's a pain to do, but we could. We have a variety of different optimizations, customizations. Since we manufacture everything in-house in Philly, we do all of our own design, all of our own machining, all of our own assembly, all of our own sourcing of components and building. We can do whatever we want. It's more a matter of who asks for what and what makes sense. There's a few things on customization that we are working on at the moment to make more mainstream. Some of them, as any manufacturer knows, or golfer who's waited 3 or 4 months for their custom putter, some of them are a little tougher. So we're working on making those even more efficient so we can do some customizations that are maybe 1 out of 100, but do those quickly. We generally can build a putter and have something out within a day or two, even as a custom order. Again, our manufacturing process was set up similar to JIT, just-in-time manufacturing, which means we can get something from concept to build within a day or two out the door. And we don't want to see what happened during COVID and post with previous, which was, yeah, your putter's on order. See it in 6 months if you're lucky. And we started our company in the middle of that, and we wanted to make sure that wasn't a reality for us and never will be.
So designed in the USA, made in the USA. I'm a big supporter of anything and everything made in this country. Do you have any putters on any tour right now? Any play in any player's hands?
Sort of. Can't say officially at the moment. We have different people trying and different things in the works at this exact moment. But until it becomes official, I won't want to say officially, but hopefully in a future podcast sooner than later, I can come back and say who and where exactly.
So now how can our listeners, us, anybody out there, how can we get one of your putters in our hands, in our bag?
So we have a number of options. We're trying to grow this, but we have fitting locations along the eastern seaboard. We're expanding out into the West Coast as best as we can. We have trusted fitters that understand our technology, have a variety of the different heads, shafts, grips, everything. They can fit you. You can go into their shops and be fitted. You can visit us in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, zip code 19020. You can visit our headquarters. We can fit you, give you a factory tour, variety of different things. And we also are on the website where you can go through our fitting options as well, just customize your putter. We're actually expanding that as well to have better remote fitting possibilities. And some of our fitters will do Zoom fittings. While it's not ideal, it does get that one-on-one interaction with a person. We try and be one of those companies too where our customer service, if you call, email, we will call you back, email you right back from one of us, not a answering company in the middle of nowhere. Not to say it's terrible, it's just for us, we want to make sure we're connecting with every single person that comes through our door or contacts us. We're also open to suggestions. If there's ways to get out there better, we do demo days, we've been to different trade shows, we're trying to get out more and more. It's just a matter of expansion at this point to be able to put putters in people's hands. We're firm believers of tangible. It's very hard to sell something and someone to try it without being able to hold it. So we try and be everywhere we can and growing that.
And I'm guessing you have a website. You're on Instagram. You're on Facebook. Tell everybody that's listening your Instagram handle, your website, so they can. Because I'm sure people are. I mean, I'm dying. I want to pull my phone out right now and check because I've seen Joe's and I've played with Joe. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, "What is that?" I was like, "What is that?" And then the way he was putting with it, I was like, "I gotta try one of these out." So tell us where to find you guys.
So I believe on Twitter we are Makeputts. I believe on Instagram we are at Makefield Putters, and our website is www.makefieldputters.com. I think we're also on Facebook. I think we have a LinkedIn. I'm not sure. I think we're going to work on a TikTok eventually. We won't be more on all the social media handles, but our main stuff is launched through our website, announced on there, through Instagram, and on Facebook. We try and kind of share on all platforms. Hit the different bases. We'll be doing a few things such as basic newsletters and other email blasts out to anyone that's subscribed and existing customers for things such as new product launches, which are the new putters like this TF and the TF Tour, events that we'll be hosting, events we'll be at, and also things like coupon codes and deals and so forth And again, a big thing for us is the educational aspect. So with all those things, we're trying to get the word out more and more. But primarily Instagram, the website, Facebook, they seem to be decent social media channels for us.
As Matt mentioned, right, we're trying to grow our fitting network. We want a strong network of trusted fitters. So if you're interested in a fitting kit, if you run a pro shop, if you run a golf performance center, and you have any interest in what we're doing, info@makefieldputters.com. Reach out to us. We'll get you all the information you need, and we can take things from there.
Sounds great. I mean, I'm intrigued. Like, seriously, driver technology and putters. I mean, where else have you heard that? I haven't heard it anywhere. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Nick, you have any? And Nick, I mean, I know you're involved too. So, if you have anything else to say,
no, I mean, Matt touched on everything. Thanks for coming on and spending some time with us, Matt, and explaining from a really technical standpoint what we're doing, because that's above my pay grade. So.
I hope to be back, and I hope to kind of debut some of our new products and get more into that 30 minutes of real tech talk. But I'm hoping with some of the new product launches, if I can be back, I'd love to give a little bit of tech on those new ones, give the listeners a better idea of what we're really trying to do. We embed a lot of engineering, a lot of customer research, and a lot of feedback into our products, not just what we want. It's, again, make the golfers better through better technology. Doug, Joe, Nick, I really appreciate being on. Thank you very much.
Matt, thanks a lot. You're welcome to come on whenever you want, and we'll look forward to having you back and seeing all those new putters.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks again.